Hello. So I want to tell you about a cool class activity that you can use in your classes. As we all know, things have changed, and instead of teaching face to face, we are teaching online, which is a little bit more difficult to grab our students' attention. We have no idea what is happening in their head, and sometimes some of us find it very challenging. So the solution could be different type of activity that can grab a student's attention. But what kind of activity can do that? Well, we want a class activity that is interactive, it's competitive and fun. At the same time, it's productive and students actually learn the material. So one of the activities I use in my classes and the students like it very much is role-playing activity. Of course, you can do it in face-to-face classes, but if you're doing it online, you can use Zoom and Google Doc. So the first step is to explain to students what's the plan. So you can tell the students that, yeah, they're going to be lawyer or prosecutor, and sometimes you can add other characters, like you can yourself be a witness, you can bring in expert witnesses, and any other character. You can be just creative and make it more fun. You can also assign a number of students as judges or the juries to analyze the parties' arguments and make a decision at the end. Anyway, after telling them that, tell them that you will provide them with a scenario and some questions that they're gonna answer, and eventually they're gonna argue against each other. Now, the second step is to take care of the breakout rooms. I believe you know where you can find the breakout room on Zoom, and then determine the number of rooms you want to have for this activity. You may have like 2 groups of prosecutors or 2 groups of lawyers. And then you should make sure to rename each breakout room. If you don't do that, because some students don't listen to you when you're assigning their roles, once they go to the breakout room, they're going to be very confused. Like, did he say you're lawyers or the prosecutor? Then click on options and make sure you determine an amount of time for this activity, because if you don't, students are going to talk about lots of other things that are completely irrelevant to the activity and waste their time. The third step is to set up the Google Doc. We want to use the Google Doc for 2 purposes. First, to outline the scenario and questions. Second, through Google Doc, students can work on the same document at the same time and see each other's comments in real time. This feature makes Google Doc perfect for online teaching and activities. For the scenario part, instead of text in Google Doc, you can refer the students to a video, for instance, on YouTube, to make the activity more fun. And also, if you have the time, you can create your own crime scenario, like this one that I created a while ago, and students would love it. To use Google Doc, you will need to have a Google account. If you don't have one, you can go to Google or Gmail and create a free account for yourself. Then go to docs.google.com and you should be able to see this page. In case you see something else, click on the top left corner of the page and then select Docs. Now, if you already have your scenario and questions in a Word document, click on this icon and then select Upload and upload your document. Alternatively, you can use a blank document or one of the templates. As you can see, I have used one of the templates. You should make sure on the first page of the document you provide a detailed instruction of the activity. Otherwise, no matter how much you explain things to the students, they will be like, what should we do now? I'm a little bit confused. What is this activity about again? Another thing I learned is that you should make sure there is at least one person in each group who is supposed to talk on behalf of the whole group. Otherwise, when you ask a group to present their case, no one from that group may talk. You won't believe it. Here on the second page, I have the scenario and questions, and on the final page, I have provided some guides for answering the question. Now, you want to share this document with the group, let's say, that are lawyers. Click on the share at the top right corner. One way to share the document is to enter their emails and give them access, but that would take a lot of time. So instead, click on change anyone with the link and then change viewer to editor, because we want the students to be able to write things in the document, right? And then click on copy link. That's the link that you can share with that group and they can easily access the Google Doc. Now you can see at the top right corner of the page, the share icon has changed. And it used to look like this one before you make those changes. Now you're probably wondering whether you should go through the whole process for each group. Well, there is an easier way. First, change the document title on the top left corner. You can see mine is Class 1 Defendant. That's the place you should click and change the title. Then click on File and make a copy. And change the document title. Let's say Class 1 Prosecutor, and click OK. And now in this copied document, you may need to make some slight changes as I indicated, and you have to repeat the sharing process again. Now, there are different ways to share these links with the students. One is once the students go to the breakout rooms, you can join each room and give that group their link. But what I generally do, which I think is easier, is I list all the links in one Word document and share this document with all the students through Zoom. For example, students who are in the defendant group, click on the link that is for the defendant. Step 4 is to observe. With that, I mean to supervise students' progress while they are doing the task. One of the general challenges is understanding which group or which student has a question or they need help. And unfortunately, in many cases, at least for me, it used to be like when I asked them, do you have any question? I was more interrupting their work rather than helping them because they didn't need any help, for instance, at that time. But a good thing about Google Doc, especially when you're doing online activities, is that you can observe the students' progress in real time. So as you can see, I have all the links that I shared with the students in my browser. I can click on those tabs and I can see how each group is doing the activity, what they have written, whether they got it wrong, whether they need help with one of the questions. And then I can join that breakout room, help them without interrupting their work. Generally, it feels like I'm in the class, I'm going around each table and see how a group is doing, but at the same time, I'm not giving them the stress that I'm looking at them and I'm listening to their conversation. That's why this activity is also very good for face-to-face classes, which I've tried before and works perfectly. Now the fifth and the final step, which is the most important one, is to enjoy. So students come back from the breakout rooms and it's very fun listening how they present their arguments. Sometimes they come up with creative ideas and you will see that the students actually enjoy it a lot. If I find the time, I will later record a video on how you can use Kahoot in your classes, which is a game that is designed for educational purposes, and the students love it, at least in my experience for the last 5 years I've been using it. Thank you very much. I hope it is helpful, and if you have any questions, drop me an email.